energy security, for that matter, is concerned. And indeed, we all believe that the future of energy is Africa. And so let's give ourselves a round of applause for being here this morning. Can we do more? Can we do more for ourselves? We are clapping in support of the future of African energy, and that is the very reason why we are here. Before we zoom into today's proceedings, I would ask the media team to give us highlights of what happened yesterday.
The future is not something we wait for. It is something we build deliberately, courageously, and intentionally. Africa cannot speak about transformation while excluding the very generation that will inherit the consequences of our decisions. We are moving our youth from passive observers to active owners and innovators of our energy.
Africa does not lack a vision. What Africa needs today is execution, coordination, and bankable projects. Energy, technology, services are not a secondary segment of the industry. They are the tools through which Africa can integrate its market, improve performance, reduce costs, retain value locally, and accelerate industrial transformation.
Africa must no longer remain merely a source of raw material. For global industrialization, whilst others captures the manufacturing, technology, and economic value chain, we must move decisively towards beneficiation, industrialization, technological innovation, and more importantly, value addition.
Energy is the foundation upon which this transformation will be realized. It is the lifeblood of our development. Throughout human history, reliable, affordable, sustainable, and resilient energy systems have unlocked industrialization, illuminated homes and communities, powered economies, and enabled agro-processing and manufacturing to take place. Today, energy is a critical lever for the African Free Continental Trade Area (AfTA) to move from protocol and legal tests to real prosperity for our people.
Energy integration is trade integration. Trade integration is economic integration. And economic integration remains the only sure path towards the Africa we all desire. The future of energy remains African. Thank you very much, and you're welcome to
Thank you very much. Shall we give ourselves a round of applause? Thank you very much. As I indicated earlier, the future of energy is African, and in fact, it is what is driving all of us to be here. We want to be forerunners and front runners for Africa energy and innovation as far as global energy security is concerned. And so day 2 is packed. It promises to be exciting. You just saw highlights of what happened yesterday, and we are expecting that today is going to be much more exciting than what we witnessed yesterday. Today we're going to have special keynotes from speakers. We're going to have a keynote address. We're going to have plenary sessions, and all of that. So it promises to be exciting, and I believe that we are all poised to contribute our quotas, in one way or the other, towards ensuring that we contribute our quota towards the future of energy within the African context as we shape the African narrative. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to invite our first keynote speaker for the special keynotes, and I'd like to remind you that the special keynotes are hovering around the gas bridge, focusing on gas as the fiscal connector of the African industry. We all very much understand the importance of gas within the context of the global conversation of energy transition, and so these keynotes are hovering around the gas bridge, focusing on gas as the fiscal connector of the African industry. We are privileged this morning to have the minister responsible for trade, agribusiness, and industry in Ghana to be our first speaker for the special keynotes. I don't know if we have the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejare. The media team, could you give us an interlude? Thank you. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, I would respectfully wish that for the art of creativity and our visual arts, can you please occupy the seats in front of you? Thank you very much. Thank you. If you could occupy the seats in front of you, I'll be most grateful. Normally, it is said that the master of ceremony has powers that be, but in this case, I'm a humble servant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Shall we give ourselves a round of applause as we occupy the seats in front of us? We are making this as beautiful as possible. Future of energy is African, and that's the reason we are here. And we are doing this collectively. We are doing this as a collective responsibility because the African narrative must at all time remain supreme. We must not miss out on the narrative, and that's the reason we are here. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. As I indicated, we have our special keynotes, heralding day 2, and as I said, it is hovering around the gas bridge, focusing on gas as the fiscal connector of African industry. To do us the honors for the special first keynote is Honorable Karine James, and she is the Minister of Climate and Resilience for Grenada. Shall we welcome her with a round of applause as she comes? And the rule is that until she gets here, you keep on clapping. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished ministers, representatives of the government and people of Ghana, the leadership and organizers of the Africa Energy Technology Conference, investors, regulators, industry leaders, development partners, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a distinct honor to stand here in Accra on African soil in a country that has long carried the weight of history and the promise of possibility to speak on a subject that is not merely technical, but deeply developmental. The theme before us, the gas bridge, gas as the physical connector of African industry, asks us to do more than discuss fuel. It asks us to confront one of the defining questions of our time. How do developing nations build the energy systems required for industrial transformation while also protecting the climate future on which our survival depends? This is not simple a question, and it deserves more than a simple answer, because a bridge is only as wise as the destination it is built to reach. That is the spirit in which I approach this keynote today. When we speak of the gas bridge, we are not speaking only of molecules, pipelines, LNG terminals, turbines, gas fields, ports, industrial parks, or power plants. We are speaking about the development choices of our nations, the sovereignty of economies, the right of the global south to industrialize, and the responsibility we all share to ensure that development today does not become vulnerability tomorrow. So let me say this from the outset clearly and carefully. I do not come to this platform to romanticize gas. I come as Grenada's Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy, from a small island developing state that knows what it means to live on the front line of climate change, energy insecurity, imported fuel dependence, and disaster risk. We do not have the landmass of Africa. We do not have a continental power pool. We do not have large industrial corridors stretching across borders. We do not have the scale of this great continent. But we understand deeply what energy vulnerability means. We understand what it means when imported fuel prices determine the cost of living. We understand what it means when electricity cost affects the fisherman, the farmer, the hotelier, the small manufacturer, the student, the hospital, and the national budget. We understand what it means when a small business has ambition but cannot grow because energy is too expensive. We also understand what it means when a country wants to diversify its economy but remains exposed to external shocks it did not create and cannot control. And after Hurricane Beryl in 2024, we understand with painful clarity that an energy system is not only an economic system, it is a resilient system. When it fails, everything else trembles. And because of that, I cannot and will not speak about any energy source without speaking about climate responsibility, environmental integrity, and the future we owe to our next generation. But ladies and gentlemen, I also come as a policymaker from the Global South who understands that development cannot be powered by theory alone. It must be powered by real systems, real grids, real infrastructure, real investments,
real industries, real jobs, real resilience, and real energy that people can afford, rely on, and use to transform their lives. That is why the question before us is not whether gas is good or bad in the abstract. The real question is this: can gas, where countries choose to use it, be governed as a disciplined, transitional bridge towards industrialization, energy security, regional integration, and a cleaner, more sovereign energy future? And if the question is yes, then we must be equally clear about the conditions. It must be a bridge, not a destination. It must support the acceleration of renewables, not delay them. It must strengthen energy security, not deepen dependency. It must create local value, not merely export wealth. It must be governed with climate integrity, not political convenience. And above all, it must lead somewhere better than where we are today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Caribbean and Africa do not share the same energy geography either, but we can share a profound development truth. Energy is not a luxury to be added after development. Energy is the foundation on which development stands. Africa cannot industrialize on fragile grids, unreliable electricity, imported dependence, and energy poverty. No region can. A hospital cannot run on aspiration. A factory cannot operate on intermittent power. A cold storage facility cannot preserve food on uncertainty. A school cannot digitize without reliable electricity. A port cannot compete without energy. A mining sector cannot move from extraction to beneficiation without industrial power. A farmer cannot fully enter the value chain without processing, refrigeration, transportation, and market access. Energy is the difference between exporting raw potential and producing real value. And that is why this conversation on gas is so important. When we speak of gas as a physical connector of African industry, we must speak with both realism and responsibility. For many African countries, gas is being considered not simply as a fuel, but as part of the infrastructure that can connect power generation, industrial parks, ports, fertilizer production, mineral processing, agro-processing, cold storage, transport corridors, and regional markets. But that role must be transitional, disciplined, and nationally determined. Gas should not become a substitute for renewable ambition. It should not delay grid modernization. It should not crowd out investment in solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, battery storage, energy efficiency, or future clean fuels. And it should not lock future generations into avoidable emissions and unsustainable debt. If gas is to serve as a bridge, then it must be deliberately engineered towards cleaner power, stronger industry, and long-term energy sovereignty. That is the balance the Global South must insist on. We reject the false choice that says developing countries must choose between development and climate responsibility. But we must also reject the false comfort that says any energy infrastructure is automatically transformative simply because it is built. Infrastructure alone does not guarantee development. A pipeline without local industry is only a pipeline. A gas field without domestic value creation is only extraction. A power plant without affordability is not energy justice. An industrial park without skills transfer is not transformation. A resource that without governance can become a curse instead of a catalyst. That is why the gas bridge must not be measured only by megawatts, barrels, cubic feet, or investment headlines. It must be measured by what it connects. Does it connect farmers to agro-processing? Does it connect minerals to manufacturing? Does it connect ports to regional value chains? Does it connect young people to skilled jobs? Does it connect women to enterprise and leadership? Does it connect national resources to national development? Does it connect today's energy security to tomorrow's clean economy? If it does not, then it is not a bridge. It is simply infrastructure without transformation. This is particularly important for Africa at this moment in history. I think it is safe to say Africa is not asking for permission to develop. Africa is asking for fairness, partnership, and the policy space to design an energy transition that reflects its realities. The continent holds enormous renewable energy potential. It holds solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, critical minerals, young talent, entrepreneurial capacity, and a growing market under the African Continental Free Trade Area. But potential is not the same as power. Potential must be converted into infrastructure, investment, technology, manufacturing, storage, skills, and productive capacity. And that is where energy strategy becomes industrial strategy. The future of African energy cannot be reduced to whether a country uses gas or renewables. The deeper question is whether energy policy is being used to build diversified, productive, resilient economies. For too long, many countries of the global south have exported raw materials and imported finished products. Exported crude, imported fuel. Exported minerals, imported technology. Exported agricultural produce, imported processed food. Exported potential, imported dependency. That model cannot be the future. The future must be value addition. The future must be regional manufacturing. The future must be modern agriculture. The future must be resilient infrastructure. The future must be African industry powered by African resources, African talent, African innovation, and African ambition. But let me be clear again. The bridge to that future cannot be built carelessly. A bridge must be engineered. A bridge must be governed. A bridge must be maintained. A bridge must be safe. And above all, a bridge must lead to somewhere. For gas to play a credible transitional role, 5 disciplines are essential. The first is climate integrity. Methane cannot be treated as a technical footnote. If gas is presented as a cleaner transition fuel, then the systems that produce, transport, and use it must be held to higher standards. Methane leakage must be measured, monitored, reduced, and transparently reported. Flaring must be minimized. Environmental safeguards must be enforceable. Communities must be consulted. Contracts must carry obligations, not only benefits. Data must be credible. And the climate impact of projects must be understood before decisions are locked in. The Global South has every right to develop, but we also have every reason to avoid repeating the mistakes that have brought the world to this climate emergency. The second discipline is financial prudence. The world is changing quickly. Technology is changing. Capital markets are changing. Climate rules are changing. Trade rules are changing. Consumer expectations are changing. The cost of renewables and storage continues to shift the energy landscape. Every major gas project must therefore be tested against long-term demand, debt exposure, carbon risk, financing cost, renewable alternatives, and the possibility of future compatibility where feasible. Developing countries cannot afford prestige projects that become fiscal burdens. We cannot afford stranded assets dressed up as development. We cannot afford infrastructure that solves one problem today and creates 3 or more new ones tomorrow. The third discipline is regulatory coherence. Investors require clarity. Citizens require accountability. Governments require policy space. That means clear licensing systems, transparent procurement, credible regulators, fair tariffs methodologies, environmental approvals, local content requirements, dispute resolution mechanisms, pipeline access rules, grid codes, power purchase frameworks, and public institutions strong enough to manage complexity. Weak governance is expensive. It increases risk, it discourages serious investment, it allows public value to leak away, it creates mistrust, and it turns natural resources into political controversy rather than national opportunity. That is why Grenada, even as a small island developing state, is approaching its own hydrocarbon questions with discipline rather than emotion. Our government has established a technical working group to assess whether commercially viable resources exist, what value they may hold, and what governance, fiscal, legal, environmental, and social safeguards would be required before any responsible development could be contemplated. That is not a rush to extract. It is an effort to govern before decisions are made, and that distinction matters. Responsible countries do not stumble into resource development, they prepare for it. The fourth discipline is renewable acceleration. Gas and renewables must not be planned as opposing camps. The real issue is system design. In a carefully managed transition, gas may provide firm capacity, peaking support, industrial reliability, and grid stability, while renewables are scaled up aggressively. But that is only defensible if the renewable pathway is real, funded, measurable, and moving. Gas cannot be allowed to become the excuse for delaying solar, or wind, or geothermal, or battery storage, or grid modernization, or energy efficiency, or the hard reforms required to build the clean energy systems of the future. The danger is not only gas. The danger is gas without a transition plan. The danger is gas without methane discipline. The danger is gas without financial prudence. The danger is gas that becomes politically easier than the harder work of transformation. The fifth and final discipline is local value creation. If gas-led industrialization does not create opportunities for young people, women, engineers, technicians, small businesses, researchers, and local communities, then it will reproduce the old model of extraction without transformation. The future cannot be built only by multinational corporations flying in expertise, extracting value, and leaving behind limited capacity. Africa's energy future must build African capabilities. The Caribbean's energy future must build Caribbean capability. Our people must not only consume energy, they must design it, finance it, regulate it, maintain it, install it, study it, govern it, and own a fair share of its value. This is not only an economic issue, it is a justice issue. As a young woman minister from a small island developing state, I feel this deeply. Youthful leadership is not simply about age, it is about refusing to inherit systems without questioning whether they are still fit for purpose. And women's leadership in energy is not symbolic, it is strategic. When women are included in energy governance, technical training, community engagement, entrepreneurship, project design, and decision-making, the transition becomes more grounded, more inclusive, and more durable. The energy future we are building, ladies and gentlemen, must not be one where women carry the burdens of energy poverty but are excluded from the benefits of energy investment. It must not be one where young people are told that they are the future but are not trained, financed, trusted, or employed in the industries that will shape that future. If this bridge is to mean anything, it must carry people with it. And this is where Africa and the Caribbean have a powerful opportunity. Our histories are connected in pain, but our futures must be connected by purpose. We can share lessons not from theory, but from lived experience. Africa knows the urgency of industrialization. The Caribbean knows the pressure of imported fuel dependence. Africa knows the injustice of underdevelopment in the midst of abundant resources. The Caribbean knows the injustice of climate damage from emissions we did not create. Africa knows what it means to have enormous potential waiting for infrastructure. The Caribbean knows what it means to have ambition trained by scale, debt, and vulnerability, constrained by scale, debt, and vulnerability. Together, we know that the global energy transition cannot be credible if it is designed without us. And together, we must insist on a transition that is not imposed on the global south, but shaped with the global south. A transition does not punish late industrializers for emissions of early industrializers. A transition that does not speak the language of ambition while delivering finance that is slow, expensive, fragmented, and inaccessible. A transition that does not ask our countries to leap over development pathways without providing the concessional finance, technology transfer, storage, grade skills, and implementation support required to make the leap possible. This is not a call for exemption from responsibility. It is a call for equity in responsibility. Climate justice does not mean ignoring science. It means applying science in a world where history, capacity, vulnerability, and development needs are not equal. So to the investors in the room, invest not only in extraction, but in transformation. To the technology providers, bring not yesterday's systems, but the best available tools for efficiency, monitoring, safety, transparency, and future compatibility. To the regulators, regulate not only for today's projects, but for tomorrow's risks. To the development partners, do not ask countries to be more ambitious while making finance too slow, too conditional, too expensive, and too difficult to access. To the ministers and policymakers, let us build energy systems that our people can afford, our economies can grow from, and our children can inherit without fear. The gas bridge can be important. It can support industry. It can strengthen energy security. It can connect markets. It can support regional integration. It can help move economies from raw exports to value-added production. But only if we are honest about what a bridge is. Let the gas bridge lead Africa toward industrial dignity, not dependency. Let it lead towards regional value chains, not isolated projects. Let it lead towards stronger grids, not delayed reform. Let it lead toward renewable acceleration, not renewable postponement. Let it lead towards local skills, not imported capacity alone. Let it lead towards climate discipline, not environmental compromise. Let it lead towards ownership, not extraction. And let it remind the world that developing countries are not asking for permission to develop. We are demanding the right to develop wisely, fairly, sustainably, and on terms that recognize both our vulnerability and our potential. So, from Grenada to Ghana, from the Caribbean to Africa, our message must be clear. The future will not be built by choosing between energy security and climate responsibility. It will be built by nations courageous enough to demand both. And if we build this bridge well, it will carry us backward into dependency. It will carry us forward towards industry with dignity, energy with justice, growth with resilience, and a future owned by the people of the global south. Thank you.
Shall we give it up for her once again? The Honorable Minister for Climate and Resilience of Grenada, the Honorable Karen James. She was unequivocal, she was forthright, she was straight to the point, and she did not mince words that development must not be rooted in theories, development, especially within the context of energy, must take into account the peculiarities of the African continent and also the Caribbean. And she didn't mince words. And I think that is the narrative, that is something that we continue to drive, and we will continue to push it forcefully to ensure that we get it to the right people. Shall we give it up for her once again? Thank you very much. We'll have a video from our lead sponsor. Thank you.
Sonangol celebra 50 anos de existência. Desde 1976, crescemos lado a lado com o país, enfrentamos desafios, erguemos infraestruturas e levamos a energia ao dia a dia das nossas comunidades. Do petróleo ao gás, da exploração à comercialização, a Sonangol afirmou-se como referência no setor energético global, mais resiliente, inovadora e sustentável. Celebramos 50 anos de história viva. Celebramos, acima de tudo, o nosso capital humano. Os homens e as mulheres que com dedicação e competência construíram um legado sólido e continuam a dar forma ao futuro da Sonangol. Há 50 anos que criamos valor. Há 50 anos que servimos Angola e os angolanos.
Thank you very much. As I mentioned, the special keynotes are hovering around the gas bridge. And as I said, it is focusing on gas as the physical connector of the African industry. We have our next special keynote speaker, and he is in the person of the Secretary of State for Energy of the Republic of Angola. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, shall we welcome His Excellency Arlindo Dota Manuel Carlos. And as I mentioned, the rule is that until he gets here, you keep on clapping. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Looks like the momentum is dying down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Excellencies and distinguished delegates. Allow me, first of all, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Angola, to express my deep appreciation to the organizers of this conference for the invitation extended to His Excellency João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, the President of the Republic of Angola. To participate in this important forum, which is taking place in this wonderful African city of Accra, Republic of Ghana, regarding the theme From Borders to Bridges, Driving Trade and Intra-African Development Through Technology and Energy, which is taking place in a context marked by profound transformations of the global order, characterized by the intensification of geopolitical tensions, fragmentation of energy markets, and increasing vulnerability of international supply chains. The ongoing conflicts, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, as well as tensions along